Hello, everyone, and welcome to Body Bags. I'll be your reviewer for today. Well, I'm joined by a special guest. This is Grace, and there's a couple of reasons why I asked you to do this video with me. Okay, number one, as you see by the title, the movie that we're reviewing today is the 2002 TV version of Carrie. And the two reasons I asked you to do this with me, number one, this is pretty much your favorite version of Carrie, movie-wise.
In most ways, yes.
Yeah, movie-wise.
I do like it a lot. And
also, too, the thing, I was mentioning this to you the other day. I thought it would be interesting that one thing that, many, many men have reviewed this movie, but one thing you don't really see is you don't really see a lot of women really reviewing it. And that's kind of a thing, it's like you love the book and you enjoy the 76 movie, even though the 2002 is more your favorite version because it's a more faithful adaptation of the book.
Yeah.
But also too, just, I think there are women that I've known that they don't like Stephen King. They don't like, It, The Shining, none of that stuff, but they love Carrie. And I think that there's something there, that women really, they kind of, it talks to them, it speaks to them or something. I thought maybe you can give us a little insight into that maybe.
Yeah, so. Well, the opening scene for one.
Yeah.
From the very beginning, it's a very feminine topic. It's something that every single woman can relate to, obviously.
Yeah. And so you guys, you're all horror fans. I don't think we really need to go into too much detail about what, it's about. We all know it. Stephen King's first published book. I've already reviewed, months back when we did our Scream Factory theme week. I reviewed the Scream Factory edition of Carrie. And so you guys already know what it's about. Teenage girl, she's constantly bullied at school. She's being bullied by her religious fanatic mother. Let's see. But it turns out she's got telekinetic powers. And just over time, it builds up. And then finally, it comes to, a breaking point when she goes to the prom. She gets pig's blood dumped on her. And then she lets all hell loose, because her emotions are not in check. Oh, and real quick, I think, if you guys maybe write in the comments section that if you want us to do the 2013 version, we might consider it at some point. But to be truthfully honest with you, I don't think either one of us are really that interested in delving into it. But, if we're asked to do it, we'll consider it. But right now,
it's neither of our favorite versions.
Yeah,
for sure.
So I think just be warned that kind of like, if we do the 2013 version, if you're fans of that movie, you're probably really not going to like what we're going to say about it. But anyway, let's get back to this.
All right.
Okay, so now, just my personal thoughts real quick. Now, I already told you, the first time I watched the 2002 version, I told you I hated it. I didn't like it. I didn't think it was any good. The problem was and I am a fan of the book, and I did appreciate that they did try to keep it closer to the book. But, I also became such a fan of the 1976 movie, and I grew up watching that. And that's the main difference. I thought that was one of the things I thought would be interesting about this video. See, I'm more old school. I grew up with the 1976 version of Carrie, the 2002 version. That's the one that you grew up with.
Not really so much as grew up. It's the first version that I ever watched. Mm-hmm. I happened to catch it on TV when I was actually only about 8 years old.
Yeah.
I'd never seen a horror movie, anything before that at that point. Mm-hmm. I didn't watch the 1976 one, I think, until I was about 12.
Mm-hmm.
So, both were good, and then, from there I ended up reading the book. But 2002 was my very first introduction to Carrie. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying you should automatically like the first version of something you see.
Yeah.
But it does kind of serve as that point of comparison for everything else down the line.
Yeah. And I totally understand why you would prefer that version. Number one, you're a big fan of the book, and that version is much closer adaptation to the book.
I'm a big fan of the book, and I'm also a big fan of movies being pretty much faithful to their book counterparts whenever they possibly can.
Yeah.
I understand they have to take creative liberties. If it's a long book and they only have an hour and a half of screen time, there's cuts that have to be made. But anytime they can be faithful to the book, I'm automatically a fan of that.
Yeah.
And I think with the TV movie especially, they had more time to work with.
Mm-hmm.
The 2002 version ran almost 2.5 hours long, so they were able to fit more in, like the Rain of Stone scene.
Yeah.
Stuff that, 1976, Brian De Palma may have considered putting in, but he had to kind of pick and choose what went into his only roughly hour and a half runtime.
Right. You remember I showed you on the, when I was showing you the bonus features on the 76, Carrie, I mean, one thing you got to give Brian De Palma credit for is, like, he tried.
He definitely more than tried. So 1976 was a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
It is classically Carrie. It's the one most people think of. I mean, Brian De Palma did a fantastic job.
Yeah. And it's like, and it's like I was showing you on the, I was showing you like on the bonus features, because I remember you said that you were very disappointed in the original Carrie because the Rain of Stone scene was not included.
I'm not going to say very disappointed.
Yeah.
I just thought that's a pretty iconic scene.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of what sets off a big part of the story.
And then, I showed you on the bonus features that, they did try to film it, that they built the miniature of the house, and then they had like a truck with a conveyor belt. And then they were putting rocks, had rocks falling on it to bust the model and everything else. But they said it didn't look right, and it would have been laughable if they put it in there. So he had to cut it out. But, so I was like, and that was one thing, like in the bonus features, like De Palma really wanted to be as faithful to the book as he could. He did change a couple of things. Like, I remember you told me that, everybody's familiar with this. So I don't think we're giving away any spoilers. If you've seen Carrie, you already know what we're talking about. I remember you told me that one part that really scared you in the 2002 movie was the part where Carrie stops her mother's heart.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little kid. That jumped out at me right away as something really scary.
Mm-hmm. And then, that was great because it was a faithful adaptation from the book and everything. And obviously De Palma went for a more, it's like, I think De Palma just kind of figured like, well, I kind of want to go, because this is a movie, I want to try to go for something more visual. So I think, that might be the reason why he decided to go for the mother being crucified. Plus also, too, it does make a degree of stories. And even Stephen King said he thought, that was a good idea, that he wished he had thought of that, about the mother being crucified like that. Because, of all the religious abuse and everything that she heaped on her entire life and everything. So,
that was a very creative interpretation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was a very visually stunning ending. Visually stunning way for the mother to die. I mean, it fit right in with how Margaret White acts, how Margaret treats Carrie.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a very good ending, but obviously stopping her heart was more faithful to the book. So
Right. But so, either version works, so I would say ultimately with the 2002, now you heard me say earlier in the video that the first time I watched it, I didn't like it, but you and I have watched it a couple of times since then, and I have to admit, I'm starting to see elements of it more that I like. And unfortunately, I see some missed opportunities because, like for one thing, you and I, we were talking the other night when we were watching, we were talking about the music score. Now, just my personal opinion, I think that the music score for the original is amazing. Pino Donaggio's music is fantastic.
Definitely.
I love his
1976
music.
Definitely takes the category in music.
Mm-hmm. And the one in 2002, there were parts of the movie where I thought, the music is kind of half and half. It's hit or miss. There are moments in the movie where, the music fits the scene beautifully. It really sets up the emotion and the mood of the scene. But there are a couple of moments like the music feels really awkward. That's just my opinion. There were a couple of moments, like for instance, like when Carrie starts, raising out the problem, all you hear is this kind of do 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 do. I was like, there's not much of
I didn't
to it.
I didn't really have any overall complaints about the music in 2002. Mm-hmm. It was just kind of there. Yeah. I didn't think it was bad. In some parts, I thought it was decent. Mm-hmm. But that is one category that I'm going to have to give to the 1976 movie. That music just completely blows it away.
And I would say, and the biggest reason why I think this is a missed opportunity is that this movie, and just in my opinion, this version of the movie really would have been much better suited if they didn't do it for TV. They didn't alter the ending. And we're not going to tell you exactly how it ends. We're just going to say that the 2002 version tries to go for a more upbeat ending. And the whole reason for that was because they were trying to set up a TV series. And if you watch If you ever watched the Boots to Reboots episode where Andy, the maniacal cinephile, where he reviews all 3 movie versions of Carrie, he talks about that they did try to set it up for a TV series, but it never happened, which is a good thing because you and I have sat here and talked about like where would the story
how would
even
the
go?
TV? I mean, without telling you guys how the 2002 movie ends, we can't possibly think of what they could do with a full blown TV series.
Yeah. So it's like
my other thought was, the 2002 movie got pretty panned by critics and some of the actors in it alike. I mean, Angela Bettis, who played Carrie, actually came out later and pretty much disowned that movie. She, pretty much said she regrets doing it. It didn't turn out the way she wanted, and I think one of the leading reasons why it panned so hard was because they changed the ending. The ending of the book, and that they followed in the 1976 and also the 2013 versions, is kind of central to the story. That's what makes the story a tragedy. So, while I overall thought the 2002 movie was really faithful to the book, and I want to like it, I want to love it, and like I said, in a lot of ways, I like it better than the 1976. I think what made a lot of people go, forget this, and turn it off, and probably give it 1 out of 10 stars was because of that ending change. I just really wish they didn't do that.
It's like, and another thing too, though, is I really wish, I agree with you. I think they should have kept the ending from the book and, keep the, because that's the essence of the story. It's one of the greatest tragedies ever written.
Yeah.
And, and by taking that away, it's like, it kind of really just, it doesn't work, It's like, but also too, it's like, my opinion, they should have kept the ending from the book. If you're gonna do a faithful adaptation of the book, go all out.
You need to take it all the way, not get right up to the end and throw that curveball that disappointed everyone. And
and for a story like this, you could definitely tell it's very toned down, because it's television. So in my opinion, like they should have done this more as a theatrical movie, not a TV movie. Because you and I were talking about how I don't know, maybe go back and look at the book, but it's like, because we were talking about, like, in the original movie, obviously, when they start, stoning Carrie with the tampons and stuff, they're yelling, plug it up, plug it up. In this one, they start saying, period, period. It's like, I'm kind of mixed about that. It's been a while since I read the book, but I think in the book, didn't they do kind of like a combination of both? Plug it up and period, maybe?
I have not read the book in almost 15 years. Like I said, I was 12 years old when I read it.
We probably should have done more research before we started the video. Anyway.
Well, I mean, this is more of a comparison between the two movies, the 1976 versus the 2002. But I do remember enough elements of the book that...
But I feel like, with some of the mature themes that the story had, like with, at the beginning with Carrie, having her first period and stuff like that, it's like, it just kind of felt... Well, maybe now you could do it for television. It'd be fine because, the restrictions are so much lighter than they were back then. But at the same time, it's just, you still couldn't really talk about stuff like that back in 2001, 2002. There were still quite a few restrictions put on there. So
yeah, but like I said, one thing I do like about the fact that it was a TV movie was they had more liberty with runtime. A lot of theatrical horror movies, especially back when the 1970s, very few people, they're gonna see a runtime of 2.5 hours for a horror movie and think, wow, that's too long. I think TV movies have more liberty with that, and that's why I like that the 2002 TV movie was able to fit more stuff in because they had that longer runtime to work with. Yeah.
It was like back in 1980, you're right about that, because like back in 1980 when The Shining first came out, people flipped out when they found out that, The Shining is almost a 2.5 hour movie, and it's like, wait, you don't do a 2.5 hour horror movie. What the hell?
Yeah, especially horror movies. I think it's very hard anyway to get your horror movie taken seriously.
It's like
for the most part, and then especially a 2.5 hour long horror movie, most of those are dead on arrival.
Yeah, even though we can all agree, The Shining is fantastic.
Of course,
The Shining is a classic.
But,
I still think they should. It's like you could have kept maybe the 2 hour plus runtime, but do it as a theatrical movie, and then give it more of a budget. Because one thing you can definitely see in this TV movie, it's very low budget. You can tell definitely by the digital effects and everything. And unfortunately, that's one of my biggest pet peeves about the movie. The digital effects do not hold up really at all. It's like they look so cheesy. You can tell it looks very cartoony, especially.
We are reviewing it almost 20 years after its release date.
Yeah.
Obviously now the special effects have gotten way better.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was probably already. I mean, I was only a kid when I watched it, but it was already probably somewhat looking borderline aged at the time.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you know me, I've been a horror movie fan all my life. So I've grown up with, practical effects. I've grown up with, she doesn't know, okay, but you guys know who I'm talking about. I grew up with makeup artists like Tom Savini and Rick Baker and Rob Bottin and, Dick Smith and Stan Winston. I grew up with these guys, and so, but, some of that stuff, some of their work and everything else. But
yeah, I think I do want to start, because he did mention that I am mostly a fan of this 2002 version. I think we've talked about all the stuff we don't like about it. I think we should start talking about the stuff that I do like about it. I don't want to sit here and pan the whole thing because I am doing this episode because there is a lot I do love about it.
Mm-hmm. And there are things about it that I do like too. I mean, okay, all right, you just talked a few minutes ago about Angela Bettis and how she regretted doing it and everything else. I give Angela Bettis props, okay, because you got to have guts to follow Sissy Spacek.
That is one area. So I am going to delve later into how I think Patricia Clarkson is at least equal with Piper Laurie in her depiction of Margaret, and in a lot of ways how I like her better. I gotta say, Angela Bettis did a fine job playing Carrie, but there is no beating Sissy Spacek. Mm-hmm. That is one actor where Sissy Spacek is Carrie.
Yeah.
She's pretty much the image of Carrie in most people's minds. Angela Bettis did a pretty good job with her interpretation, but I have to hand Carrie to Sissy Spacek.
But like I said, you got to figure though, they probably, like when they were getting ready to do that movie, you got to figure they were probably sitting there offering that part to many, many actresses, and many actresses were probably sitting there like, I'm not following Sissy. No, you don't. Yeah. You don't try to follow up Sissy.
I mean, think about the critical reception you're going to face the rest of your life for something like that.
It's like, okay, back in the mid to late 90s when King remade The Shining as a miniseries, and this is, you guys already know this stuff, but this is a very well-known story, is the fact that that they offered the part of Jack Torrance to almost every actor that they could think of in television and film. Nobody wanted to do it. Nobody wanted to follow Jack. No, everybody's like, you don't follow Jack.
You really don't.
And then finally, Steven Weber, and he admitted, you've seen interviews with Steven Weber. He admits it was just out of pure ignorance. He just didn't know, didn't think about it. And he was just like, you know what? I love The Shining. I love the book. I love the original Kubrick movie. And I'm a horror fan. I would love to do this. And he did it. And he was actually pretty good in it. I mean, not as good as Jack, but still, he did a different interpretation of it.
Yeah.
Kind of like what Patricia Clarkson did to Piper Laurie here.
That is a much closer race, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. That is not the landslide I just gave to Sissy Spacek, even though Angela Bettis didn't do a bad job by any means.
Yeah.
The role of Margaret White, I gotta say, I think it's more about equal. Once again, I think Patricia Clarkson was a little bit more faithful to the book, just because there is a line in the book where it describes Margaret White as an insane woman with a sane face.
Right.
Piper Laurie took a much different approach to it, and I think it was great for the De Palma movie. She pretty much just went in, knew she was playing this over-the-top religious fanatic, and of course she's wonderful at it. But she's an insane woman with an insane face. I mean, you go in and people just know she's crazy. Uh-huh. What I liked about Patricia Clarkson is she really nailed the sane-looking woman role. She was much more subtly manipulative. Mm-hmm. And one scene where this really stood out to me was when Carrie had just been invited to the prom, and she and Margaret are sitting at the table, and Margaret's calmly saying, "You haven't touched your cake, it's Betty Crocker." She's just kind of acting like a normal woman, but then as soon as Carrie mentions she's been invited to the prom, she turns on a hairpin and goes, "No, you're not going." And I think that's a lot more believable and a lot more faithful to the book, because it really gives you a sense that most of the people at Chamberlain High School don't know the full extent of what goes on behind closed doors at Carrie's house.
Right.
Whereas Piper Laurie's Margaret, people think, whoa,
You see her for like 2
Yeah,
seconds.
they know exactly what she deals with her mother in that movie.
Yeah, it's like,
And
you know,
they're both great performances. So that one's kind of more of a draw.
Mm-hmm.
And I've also always just been somewhat partial to Patricia Clarkson because
Mm-hmm.
I've seen her in other movies and I adore her, of course.
Yeah.
But that's a lot closer, and I think they both do excellent jobs.
You definitely, because you showed me, you got me to watch Sharp Objects and stuff. You definitely see some Margaret White in that performance.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Patricia Clarkson just absolutely nails, and I think she was perfect for the role of Margaret White. She nails that subtle manipulation. When she's out in public, people really don't know what she's like at home, and it's the same in Sharp Objects. If you guys have seen that.
Yeah. And also too, it's like I agree with you that Patricia Clarkson did a really great performance in that, and also it's like you said, you're right about that. It's like when you from the instant you see Piper Laurie in the original movie, you kind of already know this woman's off her rocker, but when I showed you the bonus features, it's like they did the interview with Piper Laurie where she said, oh okay, she thought of it as a satire of religious fanatics, and that's how she approached it. So she approached it in a very over-the-top way and stuff like that. But, Patricia Clarkson does a really great job because, it's like, that, there's that something that's brewing on the surface. And like it's like, even though she appears normal, she appears, like, a sane woman and everything else, like that violence can happen in any second.
Yeah.
And it's, it's
and
really
it does.
And it does. And one other thing, though, too, and I think both Bettis and Clarkson, they achieved something that I don't think any of the other actresses, I've told you about this before, I think they achieved something in the 2002 movie that I don't think any of the other actresses in any of the other versions ever really achieved. Is there are moments where you could sense by their acting that these two genuinely care about each other. There is a love there.
They do.
And
I mentioned this to him. This was much more believable to me coming from Clarkson than from Piper Laurie or even from Julianne Moore in the 2013 remake,
Mm-hmm.
which I knew we were really going to touch on. You really do get the sense that in her own warped, twisted way, she does love Carrie,
Mm-hmm.
and she's acting out of what she believes is her love for Carrie. She
Mm-hmm.
believes she's acting in Carrie's best interests, even though clearly she's not.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Piper Laurie and Julianne Moore, to an extent, you kind of sense from the beginning that they resent Carrie ever being born,
Yep.
and that's kind of the arc they take the whole way through. Whereas in the 2002, obviously, Carrie's conception was still just as much unplanned as in the other two, but, there's moments where you can tell Patricia Clarkson's Margaret really does love Carrie, and she feels that she's acting out of that.
I mean, hell, in the 2013 version, the minute Carrie's born, she tries to kill her.
Yeah.
So
No,
it's
that just really didn't get translated to the 1976 or the 2013. I think it comes through really strongly in 2002, particularly in the ending scene, which not really going to give it away too much, but I think Patricia Clarkson was a lot more, loving with Carrie to the best of her, knowledge than whereas Piper Laurie and Julianne Moore just kind of went for the violent killing attempt.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, and with Angela Bettis' performance, I thought was really good was like the part where she's trying to, she's looking at the patterns for her prom dress. And she's like, Mom, which one of these do you like better and everything? And she's almost pleading with her mom. Like, please do this with me. Please plan this with me. Please, like, I love you, Mom. Please love me back. That kind of a thing. And then, like the part where they're having the discussion, where that she's all like, Jesus doesn't love you and everything. It's like, yes, Jesus does, and things like that. And Jesus can love even me and stuff like that, and I do, and that's kind of the thing though too, it's like, I think that, if they done this as a theatrical movie, keep a lot of the same actors and actresses. Okay, but the guy who played Billy Nolan, get rid of him. Okay, you and I both talked about that. That guy, get rid of. It's like
that was another different approach.
As goofy and silly as John Travolta's performance was, this guy here, like, what the hell? He's doing the mugging and stuff. It's like, that was a little bit too
much. He basically took the role of Chris Hargenson's borderline psychopathic boyfriend and just cranked it up to 11. Mm-hmm. We thought it was just a little bit much.
Yeah, we both did.
Yeah.
And the thing is, though, too, is like, if you watch this movie, you're horror movie fans, you're going to see there are a lot of really good talent in this movie. And that's the thing. That's one of the reasons too why I wish it could have been done as a theatrical movie. They could have kept the ending of the book, put a little more money into it. Okay, because Angela Bettis, who I think we all know, she got the part because of the movie May, and I already explained that to you about she did the movie May, where she played something of a similar role, and except without the telekinesis, but she was kind of an outcast, and she was trying to be more outgoing, trying to make more friends, and because people rejected her, she decided she was going to start taking the parts of people that she did like and try to construct a friend in a Frankenstein kind of a way. I told you about that movie. But obviously, I think we all know she pretty much got the part too because she was in the movie May. You got Katharine Isabelle, who plays Norma, with the part that P.J. Souls played in the original movie. Yeah, and Katharine Isabelle, you don't know so much who she is, but you horror fans out there, Katharine Isabelle, Ginger Snaps, Freddy vs. Jason, See No Evil 2, American Mary.
She played Tina, not Norma.
No, she played Norma.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I forgot which one she played. I had to look it up.
Oh, okay.
So, but American Mary, that's a good movie. One of these days, I got to show you that one. That's a really good movie. It's American Mary. Very unique. But, in Chris Hargensen, you got Emily DeRavin, who, you guys, you horror fans, you know her. She played Brenda in the remake of Hills Have Eyes. Let's see, Candelise McClure, she played Sue, who, you guys probably rather forget this, but she did play the role of Vicky in the Children of the Corn remake. So she did 2 Stephen King remakes. The detective was played by David Keith, who you guys, you horror fans out there will remember. He was, in another Stephen King classic, Firestarter. So, let's see, of course, Patricia Clarkson, The Green Mile, Sharp Objects. So it's not like you have a bad cast. You have a really good cast. I would say keep the majority of the cast, and just like I said, but. Overall, that's pretty much my impressions. I didn't like it at first, but it tends to grow on me a little bit more that I watch it. And so, yeah, I think that's pretty much about all I have to say about it. So go ahead and just, whatever you want. That's like another thing, too, like what I was saying at the beginning of the video. Like, how do you, what do you think in terms of, like, how does this story appeal to women?
Well, I've already kind of touched on that. Obviously, it opens with an extremely feminine subject. I think that draws a lot of women in. First period is something, it's pretty much a universal woman experience, and it's an embarrassing time for a lot of us. And I think we can also, another thing I think most women can relate to is just how absolutely catty and mean a lot of high school girls can be sometimes. I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but I definitely got bullied in middle school by girls very much like that. And I think it's something that most girls can relate to, if not in high school, maybe in middle school or elementary school. Mm-hmm. So I think the combination of, obviously, the subject of getting your period and the very unique way that specifically girls tend to bully other girls, mm-hmm. I found that to be very relatable. Whereas boys tend to bully other boys more physically, girl bullies really cut in deep with words and petty revenge and manipulation, and just really making their victims feel insecure about themselves down to their core. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I dealt with in middle school. A lot of girls deal with it in middle and high school, and I think that probably drew a lot of women specifically into a genre and an author that, like you said, was kind of predominantly liked by men before. Mm-hmm. Although, I mean, I've always been a fan of Stephen King's books too. But that one specifically, I think those 2 overall things. And I think also to an extent, the mother-daughter dynamic a little bit too. Yeah.
It's a hard time, I'm not a girl, obviously, never been a girl, but, it's like, I imagine, like, yeah, it's got to be difficult when you're a young girl growing up and, with your mom and stuff like that. I imagine, I don't know, just, it seemed like you're coming into your own as a woman and stuff. I could say for men, it's, boys usually go one of 2 ways. Either they try to make their dads proud, or they try to, they don't like their dads and they try to, try to figure out who they're going to be and stuff like that.
But you can see Carrie's confusion about all these changes she's going through and her longing for her mother to just accept them and be normal about them rather than saying,
and
you
help
will,
her get through it.
Yeah, and instead of saying, you only grow breasts when you're cursed, your period's a curse, you really see her struggle with not having acceptance, not even at school, but especially, let alone from her own mother, at a time when she really wants to be going to her mother more than ever about what's happening to her.
It's like, and, would you say that, in your opinion, would you say that, in King's book and the movies, would you say that, it's fair representation of women, or would you say that, like, some things could have been done better? Or?
In Carrie?
Yeah.
No, that's probably his most feminine-driven movie. I thought it was excellently done. Yeah. It didn't seem over the top. I actually could have seen some of the girls at my own high school possibly pulling a stunt, like throwing tampons and saying, plug it up. Teenage girls can be really mean sometimes.
Yeah. I
thought it was really believable. I didn't think it was #men writing women.
Yeah.
Like some male authors tend to be. I thought it was pretty authentically done.
Because I remember, I remember they talked about, when they were going to do the 2013 version, that, they were going to talk about, well, this is going to be better because we're going to get a woman director. And so, because really, what does Stephen King know about being a woman? What does Brian De Palma know about being a woman? What's the director of the 2002 version? Was he really know about being a woman? So they got Kimberly Pierce to direct the 2013 version. And people were like, it's really just kind of a not as good rehash of De Palma's movie.
Yeah, we're not going to delve too much into 2013, but I would have been intrigued by the concept of a woman director if she'd actually really added anything to the story.
Yeah.
But in our opinion, she didn't. The 2013 movie pretty much either kept most of what the 1976 version had, or, in a lot of ways it ended up falling flat. They really didn't add anything, in my opinion, to the period scene or the girl-on-girl interactions that I thought, yeah, this is definitely better with a female director. I would have been intrigued if she had, but it just fell flat. It really didn't add anything to the movies that 1976 or 2002 didn't touch on.
And just to specify, I know you guys, because she just said girl-on-girl interaction. It's not the kind of girl-on-girl you're thinking, okay?
No, just the dynamic between the bullies and Carrie. Obviously, it takes place in 2013, so some things have been made more modern with cell phones and technology, but overall, didn't really think it gained anything.
Yeah. Let's see here. I think we're about almost done. Is there anything else you can think of that you want to talk about as far as the movie goes?
No, I think we've pretty much touched on everything. Like I said, for the most part, and this is an extremely unpopular opinion, up until the ending, I think overall I like the 2002 movie a little bit better just because it's closer to the book, and a lot of the acting is either on par or, interpreted differently but still fantastic. Pretty much the only acting I could say was 100% better in the 1976 movie, of course, was Sissy Spacek as Carrie. Other than that, I think each of the other people did a fine job, and like I said, I like Patricia Clarkson in some ways better than Piper Laurie. They were both great. Yeah.
They were both good.
So pretty much the only thing that massively disappointed me and what I thought ruined the movie was the ending. And, like he said, the music, it just kind of didn't stand out to me. Whereas, in the 1976 movie, the music was fantastic. Yeah. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think I'm pretty much just repeating myself at this point.
Yeah,
like I said, you guys know me, I'm 76 all the way, but, the more that I watch the 2002 version, like I said, I see things about it that I like, but at the same time, it is hard for me because I keep seeing the missed opportunities because, like I said, you have a fantastic cast. You really do, with a couple of exceptions, but you really do have a really good cast, and they're really trying. They're really giving it their best shot. I do appreciate the fact that it really does try to be a much more faithful adaptation of the book, and her and I, we've said this a dozen times already. We agree. The ending doesn't work. They should have kept the ending to the book. And another thing is stop with all the goddamn jump scares. Just because it worked in De Palma's movie doesn't mean it's going to work every single time.
That's a criticism that can be made about 99% of horror movies.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a critique as old as time.
Yeah, but like I said, I just feel like, if you kept the majority of the same cast, maybe recast a couple of parts, give it a bigger budget, make it a theatrical movie where, you could have a little bit more leeway in terms of, well, nowadays you could do it on TV. It's not even a thing anymore. But maybe make it more of a theatrical movie where it could have dealt with the themes in a more mature manner and stuff like that. And I think it really would have worked, and it would have been good because you would have had I think for the most part, a lot of people probably still would have enjoyed De Palma's movie a little bit more, but this movie would have gotten a lot more respect.
Yeah, that one single thing, if they had just kept the ending how it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Forget the idea of a TV show. It's not supposed to continue. It would have fallen flat. I'm kind of glad it got scrapped.
Yeah, me too.
If all they would have done, in my opinion, is kept the ending, that movie just wouldn't have been disowned and panned as widely as it got.
So I think we're starting to repeat ourselves now. So I think we've said everything we need to say.
35 minutes too.
Yeah, sorry about the long runtime, but you got to figure you got two people reviewing the same movie, so you're getting two perspectives on it. But
well, I had fun doing this first episode of Body Bags with you. So
I had fun too. It's like I'm looking forward to us doing more. It's like we already talked about next month. We're going to try to do hide and seek, and maybe in June, try to see if we could do season 1 of What We Do in the Shadows, because we've been watching that.
Yeah.
And we just finished season 1 and everything, so we could kind of just recap that a little bit. But anyway, thank you for doing the video with me.
Oh, it was an honor. I look forward to doing more.
Yeah, me too. So you guys, again, thank you for watching all of this. If you took the time to do it, we appreciate it. If you like the video, please leave it a like. If you haven't already, go and subscribe to the Body Bags channel. There's a different reviewer, one for every day of the week. I'm the Friday reviewer. We have different guys. They're all doing great stuff. And, we got more fun stuff coming. We got a label week coming up. We got theme weeks. Next month is my theme, and I pick guilty pleasures, which means, like horror movies and stuff that, that you enjoy, but like most people hate. So say like if somebody's like, oh, I'm going to do everybody hates Manos, the Hands of Fate, but I'm going to do that one or because I like it or something. So that was the theme that I picked for next month. So everybody take care and have a good night. See you later.